All right, time to get started. So I want to ask my staff, do you guys, so I hid the video panel. I know that works for the recording. I don't know if it works. So did I hide the video panel from you guys too?
No, I still see you.
You still see me. Okay, so that's just for me and the video recording. And then are we up on Facebook?
We are up on Facebook. I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys muted because Rip has to listen to the governor. So, and then that way I can hear you in one ear and listen to the governor with the other. But
okay, and Alice,
I'm doing the same.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone. So thank you all for being here. This is just a Q&A and just something to kind of round out our week of these daily calls. We don't have to stay on for the whole hour. This is really just to answer questions that you might still have. I may or may not be able to answer them, and to help you with anything you might have. As a preview of things to come is Monday, we are supposed to have somebody from the National Restaurant Association come on for about 15 minutes, the first 15 minutes. And he will be talking about the federal relief programs, and so we're interested to hear that. And then on Tuesday, we will have Antonia Roybal-Mack, our attorney for the Restaurant Association, and she will be answering your legal questions, whether they be about seeking federal relief. She's well versed in that. She is helping her clients to get the federal relief that they're due, and so she's well versed in that, and we'd love to hear from her and love to hear from you on Tuesday's call. And I just saw a very interesting webinar from Cisco about creating your own pop-up shop or your own, what did they call it, a grocerant or a grab and go. So how can you do that? And so I'm going to see if maybe they'll be on Wednesday or Thursday. And if you guys have any suggestions for things that you would like to see or people that you think have been helpful to you, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm looking for interesting folks to bring on these calls, so that we have interesting content. I'm going to review just what we sent out this morning, and most of you are on here, so you've seen this. We have vendor resources. A lot of people are calling us right now and saying, I have something I want to give to your members, or I have something that I want to help your members with. And I don't want to say no. So we have created a vendor resource page for you all and for those members who want to give stuff to us. One of the ones that I was on a webinar this morning about this Lavu online ordering for delivery and help. Same thing with Toast also has online ordering and gift cards, but these are just some really good things that you can use. Ad Wallet is offering a dollar for dollar match. You can get discounted Facebook ads. So as these things come up, we'll put them here on our vendor help during crisis. And I don't know if we ever got this on our, anyway, we'll get it under membership or one of these on our website so that you can get there quickly. Going back, our Serving New Mexico Fund, we talked about this and we've talked about this. This is a fund for your employees to take advantage of. Your employees really want, they're in hardship situation right now. We created this fund a year ago. We are putting money into this fund and we're asking for contributions. And we have created some very interesting and fun graphics for this. And if you would share this with your social media, it would be a big help to us, and it would be a big help to our employees. This is one way that we can help our employees right now, but we've got to build this fund. We have given 2 checks away for $250 each. We have 8 applications, and at 40 applications, we're going to be through the money we have. So we really need to build this up as quickly as we can. And I don't expect necessarily that restaurants are going to give to this, but you all have social media channels, and you have people who really want to do something for the restaurant industry right now. And so this is something you can do. So this is this is the paid sick leave. And remember that we talked about this yesterday, and Brad Stewart, who was on yesterday, we've had two CPA Brads this week. Anyway, Brad Stewart was on yesterday, and he said he would send this to you. And what he called this is a searchable PDF. So you can search this by being smarter than I am. There is a way to search it, but not on my Mac. Anyway, this will help you if you want specifics about what we talked about yesterday. Remember, it was the poster that you're supposed to post in your restaurants as long as you still have employees. That poster, basically, this is what you have to do specific to that poster. And if you missed yesterday, or if you want the short version of yesterday, this is a short 5-minute video that Brad did, which is kind of what gave me the idea of having him on this programming. So it's a good 5-minute on the Payment Protection Program. I don't know what we've sent more than, let me see, we've sent 557 emails to the governor and legislators. And we have heard nothing from them about delivering alcohol, except that from the beginning, they've said that they don't think it's legal for them to be able to do that. And then, of course, we have our coronavirus resources and our daily call. So we had Ed said, I emailed John Garcia from the SBA with a question on SBA procedures. He emailed a perfect answer back within a few minutes. Wonderful response, especially since he's probably a little busy today. That's very interesting, Ed. I actually saw him on a webinar with the Economic Development Department today, and then yesterday I saw him on a webinar with the Tourism Department. So he is very busy, but he is giving, and he's giving his phone number and email out on every one of those. So I can't imagine that he's not crazy busy. Okay, so Allison clarified, the governor does not feel it is within her power to change statute as far as alcohol goes, but closing up our businesses is okay. Sorry, it's a little sidebar there. I promised a question and answer, and I don't have any more. So question away. You can, let's see. The vendor resource page is on the menu under membership tab. Thank you, Dion. And then we've got some, okay, we've got some good senators working on getting some takeout, liquor takeout. Oh, has anyone received any of the $10,000 grant money? That's a good question. So under the EIDL loan, once you apply, in 3 days, you're supposed to get a $10,000 grant into your account. answers to that? Anybody? And unmute yourself. Feel free to unmute yourself and answer. And I want to ask, is Cindy on? My Cindy?
I am. I lost you there for a minute.
Sorry. No, that's good. When you filled out this grant, did you check the box that said, do you want the $10,000?
I did, and I even gave them our bank account number, but I chose the operating account at Bank and Trust, which I can't see.
Okay, so I need to be looking for an extra $10,000.
And I think that was that yesterday I completed it, or Wednesday? I'm not even sure. So
I think it was yesterday.
So
Carol,
I would say maybe next week.
Carol, this is Suzette with the Center for Ageless Living and the Greenhouse Bistro.
Yeah.
And I applied almost a week ago and I've not heard anything. And quite frankly, I don't really trust the government very much. And I think most of these programs are going to get seriously delayed and bogged down.
Yeah.
I don't see this as going really well.
Really? I don't know why you would see that. I'm sorry, I'm being facetious. Yeah, well, they said something like, I can't even remember the numbers, but you know, they just opened up the PPP loan this morning, and it was serious numbers of people who have and are applying for that loan. So, you know, they were saying that they expect, if all the loan proceeds go out to all of these folks that have applied, there's probably not going to be much left in a week.
Well, and I'm working with Bank of the West because there's not that many banks locally that are even going to participate in this, and they're delaying the application. They sent me the preliminary forms to fill out and to gather documents, which I know what they need, but they're not even accepting applications yet through Bank of the West. And I don't know what other local banks are participating. I think Wells Fargo is just going to be, you know, because they're so nationally based, they're just going to be a mess.
Yeah, and I got something today, but I hate to say, because I don't remember if it was Wells Fargo isn't even doing this or if they're just waiting to get further information on it. So I won't say, because I don't remember which one that was. Yeah,
well, I don't know how you can apply when the forms aren't even ready. And so when they're saying thousands and thousands of applications are coming in, I mean, are people just filling out whatever they get and just send it in? I mean, maybe we should just do that. I don't know.
There is an application. Let me see if I can find it. Lawrence, if you find it.
Which application?
It's an application for the PPP loan.
It was in the alert today. It was at the bottom in the links, and it's on this website as well. Should be under business resources, but I know definitely it's in the alert.
Okay, so who was I talking to? Sorry.
It was Suzette.
Oh, Suzette, yeah. Suzette, here is the application, and it's super simple. Now, that doesn't mean that's all you'll have to do, but that is showing your need and
Carol,
yeah.
This is Tom.
Yeah, Tom.
That is not the most recent application.
Of course.
There's one that came out this morning. So we need to get our hands on that one and get them to our membership. It's going to look a little different than the one you just showing us, but the one that we've been working with all week was a sample one only.
Oh. And are you sure that's not the new one?
The new one is on the website currently.
On whose website?
On the SBA website. If you just Google PPP application form, the new one came out this morning and it's right there.
And so when you fill it out, where does it go?
Can I answer that?
Yes, please.
This is Tom Hutchinson. You need to be doing this in conjunction with your bank. And hopefully your bank has SBA qualifications.
Well, that's what I'm just saying, is that Bank of the West isn't processing them. So, you know, it's just a little frustrating when you hear that thousands and thousands of people are applying when, I mean, locally here, I mean, I don't know if there's a local bank that's processing them. I know I have an SBA loan and I work with ELCDC and they're not doing them. So I mean, I know Bank of the West is thinking about it and they're processing the thought. And again, you said Wells Fargo may or may not be doing it. Is there a local bank that people are using?
So, and it depends on where local is. So local for you is Los Lunas. Tom is in Las Cruces. Tom, any thoughts on that?
She's in a pickle. The way this is working is the FBA is pushing these loans down to member banks to be the lenders on these things, and of course they're offering guarantees and whatever to the banks to be involved and to give this serious consideration. But you've got to have a relationship with an SBA bank. I don't think there's a way you can submit your application directly to the SBA.
Right, it's got to be through a bank. So,
yeah.
Suzette, you might come to Albuquerque, and I think there's a website somewhere on the SBA that tells you which banks are loaning through that process.
And by the way, on the comment about Wells Fargo, the fear that the community banks have is that the big banks who are SBA qualified will be drowning out the small banks with these applications. That's not founded yet, but that's been a fear expressed by the Independent Community Bankers Association, which represents about 6,000 banks in the country. It's the big guys with their SBA apps will, might get a preference. Let's hope that's not the case.
Yeah, let's do hope.
Okay, that form right there is the most recent form and the one I would recommend everybody use.
So I just sent it to Lawrence to put on our COVID page, and he will do that. But otherwise, I did just Google this, but you got to be careful because the first thing that came up was something that was posted 5 days ago. So be sure you get the new one.
Does anybody know if anybody's received the $10,000 or any information from the EIDL grant, the EIDL process?
We not on this call unless somebody hasn't unmuted themselves. Has anybody got the $10,000 that you're supposed to get within 3 days? No.
Carol, that form that we have been sending out is the one that you just sent me.
It's not the one that was on the.
Yes, it is. It's 3/30/2020 version 3. It's the same file.
Well, just so you know, the one that we pulled up says application form. The one that I just sent you says borrower application form. It's different. And let me see.
Okay. I just tried to upload it to our website and it showed it as a duplicate file. That's why I said that.
Okay.
There's only about 4 or 5 different little changes in it, but it could make a difference in terms of your application being pushed back or accepted.
So I think what they did was they replaced that file in that one PDF. So that's why you're getting duplicate. But one goes to one and one goes to another. So Lawrence will figure it out. He's genius. I've got a question here. I hear that there's going to be an additional $600 a week for unemployment. That is more than I make in a week. Will we lose employees when they find out they can make $600 plus unemployment? I don't know that you're going to lose employees that you have, but you will certainly not be able to bring back some that are already out there. Tom, did you get anything clarified from the workforce development if they're going to make people come back to work if they get an offer of employment?
This is Tom Hutchinson again. So I've been wrestling with labor attorneys this week and their interpretation of the law when it comes to offering people that are on unemployment their job back, what's their requirement to come back to work. And I would say the responses are about 60-40 in favor that if you offer the job back, they need to come back. But I can't get anything more than that out of everybody. And the reason I'm saying this is so much of our PPP loan application and the forgiveness part is tied to a couple things. It's tied to your ability to bring staff back and or meet 75% of your payroll that you used as in the formula to compute your loan. So this is a big deal to our industry. Most of us have laid folks off, but as soon as they came in with that $600 a week incentive, they called it an enhancement, that really turned the tide on us. Had that not existed, we'd be offering our folks their jobs back, they'd be taking them, and we would easily qualify for PPP and the maximum forgiveness. Dilemma we have now is that we're competing with the unemployment checks these guys are getting with offering their work back. So it's not really clear. I can tell you what I'm going to do. If I get this PPP loan approved, I will immediately send out a letter to my staff offering their jobs back. If they decline, at least I can show in my file that I offered it. And then at that point, I'll start doing some things to qualify to get to 75% of payroll. And some of those tricks I can share with folks at some point, but it would involve bringing people back on payroll that did not file for unemployment, and perhaps you pay them a little bit differently, or the ones that you have working for you right now in a takeout or to-go environment, you do what I've just already done. I've paid them enough money so that they're not conflicted when they go home at night with their friends sitting at home collecting $20 to $25 a week, an hour, just sitting at home. So I hope that helps a little bit.
So Marina, that might answer your question. Would it work if I apply for the PPP loan and can only get a portion of my employees back? So remember that the loan is forgivable if you use it for payroll. So if you only use 25%, you're only going to get 25% forgiven. But if you use 75%, 75% of that loan is forgiven. So it may be worth it to you. Plus you get to use it for those other pieces that I think it's rent. Sorry, I know.
Yeah. The more payroll you can get forgiven, the more other expenses get qualified to get forgiven as well, to include rent, utilities. Rent and utilities are the main two.
Right. Yeah, I had followed. Am I on? I don't know if I'm unmuting. I'd been following, I mean, pretty much every day with you guys. And again, I think absolutely, we just talked about the hugest problem with that is they're getting paid more to stay home than they would to come back. So then somebody asked, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, or maybe it was yesterday, we were talking about giving maybe a bonus to come back. But then could you include that in the payroll? So if you're saying, you normally you're a cook, you make $10 an hour, you work 40 hours a week, so you make $400. You know that they're getting half of that on unemployment. They get $200 a week plus the $6, so they're getting $800 a week to stay home. If you said, hey, I'll bring you back at $15 an hour, but so nobody knows the nuances of that, but I hate to say it's almost a bribery thing at that point, because they're sitting at home comfortable, and you're still going to pay them to sit at home because I was reading some of the other questions farther along. Yeah, all they have to do is say, I'm not comfortable being around people, or quite honestly, there's not any. If I hired 44 people back, I don't have work for 44 people right now. So all of those issues are tied up in the loan, and now, we're saying, oh my God, everybody else is already applying for it. So if we talk about it 3 more days and don't apply for it, there's probably nothing to even discuss. So just so I mention it, unfortunately, and sometimes fortunately, I'm on the border of of El Paso and New Mexico. My company's in New Mexico, but I bank with a local bank. They are, for whatever reason, and you were talking about Bank of the West, and that's I love that bank, even though I don't bank with them. Westar Bank. I'm surprised my bank, which is it's called Sunflower Bank, they, for whatever reason, were set up. So I'm just really surprised that Westar is not ready to go, because he sent me information today. I just quite honestly hadn't had a chance to do anything with it.
So Marina,
so that's just,
you're
go
down
ahead.
in southern New Mexico. Tom, is Citizens Bank working on these loans?
We are, and we're obviously going to work with current customers, but yes, we got a whole slew of people that have applied. And the reason I know this is I'm chairman of the board of the bank, so I'm a little closer to the banking side of this argument than most. But yeah, it's been crazy over at the bank the last couple of days. Can I answer her question regarding whether the bonus is covered, Carol?
Yes, please.
Yes.
It's my understanding, listen, all of us are having to entice folks to continue to work our to-go, which we're doing with some enhanced pay. We're calling it, for lack of a more creative way, we're calling it COVID incentive pay, which they all understand is temporary in nature. As soon as we go back to work, the folks I'm paying $20 an hour will go back to making $15 an hour. Now, to attract folks to come to work that aren't working for me now, there may be a formula I'll need to calculate that says I've got to pay them a little bit more to come back so I can make the 75% of payroll threshold. And it's kind of tricky, it's kind of tough, but you would also define anything that you pay them over and beyond what they made when you terminated them as a COVID-19 incentive pay, which it is my understanding, consult with your accountant, is covered under the forgiveness part.
Wow. Okay.
Hey, Tom, Dan Boozer. I had a question. If there's been a determination between loan approval date, loan origination date, and can we control the origination date after we've received the approval?
Here's what I understand, Dan. Once you've been approved, that tells your lender that they can take the money, and what I would recommend, put it in a separate account so that that account doesn't get compromised by anything else you do with it. It deals strictly with PPP related and allowed activity, but you'll need to talk with your lender. It's my understanding the loan origination date is when the 8-week clock starts, meaning the money's in your account and you can draw on it. And
so I would like to get approval and delay that loan origination date to a more beneficial time to where I'm going to be spending those monies anyway, and I can use the forgiveness portion to shore up the bottom line that's being lost in all of this.
That's a great question.
In the long run.
So what I would recommend you do is you would sort that out with your lender. I think there's probably some wiggle room in the timing of that, but let's recognize that once you get approval, the intention is to have that money work for you right away. But my guess is you could probably work on something that gives you a couple day delay.
Perfect.
Yeah. So Joe says we're currently working with the bank in Clovis, preferred SBA lender. They're hoping to be able to facilitate on our behalf. So Wells Fargo site won't be up until Wednesday. First American Bank in Las Cruces is SBA. It's a small local bank, same as Citizens. Filled out through my local SBA and still have not got anything on the $10,000. It's been 4 days. Okay, well, I think we're all just. I think to think that the government is going to get that $10,000 grant out in 3 days is kind of crazy. I don't know why they ever promised it. They've never heard the restaurant overpromise or underpromise, overdeliver. That's not a government thing, by the way. So I have a question for everybody, and Joe and Tom, you're on the phone, and I think you guys are both, you figured out that this is the PPP loan is what you want to do, and there's reasons for it. I keep thinking that why wouldn't you just leave your people on unemployment, let the government take care of that, and then when this is over, bring the people back that you can. Is your thinking that you really want to get those folks back with you? Because one of my big fears is that this is not going to be over with in 8 weeks. You know, we've got 4 weeks for sure, and some jurisdictions, not here in New Mexico, but some jurisdictions in other parts of the country, and mostly California, are putting their bans in until the end of June. So,
You want me to answer that first?
yeah, so what's your motivation? And Joe, you can come on after Tom.
Okay, first and foremost, PPP is a loan. Okay, even if we didn't qualify for any forgiveness, it's still a loan. It's a long-term loan at a fairly aggressive interest rate, okay? So then once you put that in place, you say, okay, to what extent can I qualify for the forgiveness piece? And there's several ways to go about doing that, but frankly, let me talk about my business model right now. I employ, several folks to do the to-go and takeout business model. So I do have payroll. I do have 40 or 50 folks that are on unemployment. I also have about 25 that never file. So in total, I got about 80 some folks between unemployment, filed, and working for me. I could, to maximize my forgiveness, which by the way maximizes my forgiveness for utilities and rent, I try to drive up my payroll. I can do that a couple different ways. I pay my folks a little bit more that are working for me, and that's a fair thing to do because quite frankly, we don't want them making any less than the folks sitting at home. And then I could offer employment right away to those folks that did not file unemployment for whatever reason. Their husband works, they have a second job, whatever, and that helps drive up my payroll costs to a more attractive, forgivable level. And then again, anything that's forgiven on the payroll side impacts those costs associated with rent and utilities. So one way or the other, you're going to get a loan, whether anything is forgiven or not. But if you do what I just suggested in terms of the forgiveness piece, perhaps the loan is not as great at the end of the day, and you still have a fairly good deal in terms of a long-term loan at a fairly low interest rate. And Joe, I'll let you share your thoughts.
Joe, you might have to unmute. We can't hear you. Are you still here? Oh, maybe he's gone. Joe, are you there? If you are, unmute yourself if you don't mind talking. He must be gone. Okay.
Can I go back just to, so I'm the kind of, it sounds like the opposite side of the gentleman that was just speaking. This is Marina again. I'm sorry. I've been waiting a few days. I didn't want to make everything about me, but honestly, right now at this point, unfortunately, it's about each of us. So I'm on the, I had 44 employees before this all started. A majority of them, I am trying to protect my management team, and we're down to 4 salaried employees and 1 full-time hourly employee. Everybody else is, if they're not on unemployment, they will be probably by next week. I am holding on we have a farmer's market that, because we're in New Mexico and not in Texas, which again is 5 minutes away from us, we are able to sell stuff. So we're selling stuff. We also have a package license. So we're selling liquor, we're selling items, and then we have a farmer's market. So we have farmers selling goods. I'm again wanting to do the PPP loan, but I'm at the point, like Carol's saying, like I really don't even know if it's worth it. I have my amazingly fantastic managers that are willing to do whatever I ask them to do, and they are all saying, we're going to go on unemployment because there's no way you can afford us for the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever that time frame. And I want to get the loan because that idea kills me just in the first place for that to have to happen. But I feel like I'm going to work to try really hard to get people back that are not going to want to come back because they're getting paid more. And then at the end of the day, I mean, I hate to say, if this goes on for 4 months, you know, are we all, even the people that got the loans, and if not forgiven, you start having to pay back a loan and you're not open, or your business is half of what it used to be, or whatever scenario it is, it feels like I'm forcing myself to get a loan that I have no idea in a few months if it's the right decision for me. So, and mine is absolutely tied to the fact I just don't think I'm going to get a majority of my lower wage employees back. So that's kind of, I'm on the opposite side of the scenario. I've lost almost everybody. I would have to get them back. I'd have to lure them back. And I'm not.
At some point, are you going to have to take out a loan?
I mean, that's where right. So I talked to my bank that's doing this SBA loan, and they're like, well, we're offering loans at, 4%. I'm like, so what the hell is it? The ideal part of the PPP is really the fact that it's the forgiveness, and included in there is the utilities that I have to pay no matter what. So it has a few extra things in there. And I do realize I have a heavy payroll. So if I get $125,000, or I get approved for $125,000 loan, and I can only get back, maybe my management team, and I've only spent 75 of that, or even 65 of that in the time frame, then I'm still looking at a loan in 6 months that I have to start paying back at 4%. And what if I just don't have that kind of business? And that's where so the question is, I'm pretty sure at some point I have to get a loan. And the reason everybody's rushing to do this is because they feel like, oh my God, I'm missing on the only opportunity I'm going to get with some forgiveness to it. But it's kind of like a noose that keeps tightening, where I'm not sure, I'm just not sure if I should try really hard to get it, or just kind of let it go and see how things play out.
We all have a bit of fear of missing out. Am I missing out on something I should absolutely have? Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, so you've got an interesting point. So let me make this comment. One of the reasons this is a favorable SBA loan to lenders is it's fully guaranteed by the federal government. So banks like that. Okay, it takes the risk off of them to lend to folks like you and I. But I will tell you that you may have a banking relationship that you can go and get a several $100,000 loan at an interest rate probably close to that 4%. It may have some other nuances associated with it, but yeah, you could probably do that. I don't know what your relationship is and your borrowing power with your bank, but that's certainly an option for you. The other nice thing about the PPP loan is I don't think payments are due on the loan for like 6 to 12 months. So you have a delayment in your first payment so that business can come back to the point where you can start paying a loan off. I'm not sure. You may be able to get a forgiveness period with your bank if it was just a regular loan, a standard loan that you might have with them. I know that I personally have a line of credit as well that I have as kind of a standby reserve option for me, but I'm looking at all options to put in place. You can have a loan in place and never use it. We kind of call them insurance policies. So that's my perspective on it.
Thank you.
I hope that helps. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I've been saying these last few days, is just get the damn loan, see if I get approved, see how much is approved for, and then hopefully have a little bit more time to see. And as I said, I just, if they hadn't offered that extra $600 a week, I don't think any of us wouldn't make it so difficult. It really wouldn't. You just say, hey, I can pay you to sit on your couch, come back and, but if they're making $100 more a week sitting on the couch and not having to change anything, they're not going to make $100 less sitting on the couch on my dime rather than the government. So
you just nailed it. You just nailed it.
Yeah. So that's what is just so counterproductive. Okay. Well, thank you all. And like I said, I'm on a little bit of a stranger spot because I don't bank with any New Mexico banks. So
This is Rich Friedman. Could I ask a question?
Absolutely.
What it seems to me that if your employees don't come back, there's nothing that prevents you from repaying part of the loan.
mm-hmm.
Right.
But I don't see how you lose on this one. At
Yeah.
the minimum, if
Well,
people who do come back, I mean, you won't have it forgiven, but you can repay it.
Well,
That's
at
correct.
the minimum, you're paying, the government is paying for those employees that are working for you right now, right?
Exactly.
That's
I mean,
correct.
I just don't see the
Right.
downside of the loan. It's 1%. You don't even have to. I mean, if 50% of your employees came back, then you'd get 50% loan forgiveness. You still have 50% of the money to repay the loan, and you're not allowed to use the money for anything else, anyways, other than rent and or mortgage interest and utilities. So, I've been searching for the downside.
Well, so just to make sure I'm saying it aloud and understanding, if I get, again, of my 44 employees, they're not full-time, and that's another thing I know we talked about a little bit, but I'm in my mind trying to, I'm doing kind of like the Obamacare thing where if 2 of them work 20 hours, then that's 1 full-time employee. So out of the 44, it's probably going to end up being about 28 full-time employees. So if I only get back 12 of them, all of that salary paid to them is still forgiven? Or is it contingent on the fact that I didn't get 90% of, or keep on 90% of my employees? That's where I'm
That
unclear.
just has to do with the forgiveness. So if you only bring, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you only bring back 12 of them, and you had 44 to begin with, then their portion of the payroll will be forgiven, but the rest of the loan is not forgiven necessarily.
Gotcha. Then that
correct.
is, you're right. You can't lose. I agree. I just didn't, that was one part I just didn't understand.
That's correct. The computation that will take place is you'll divide the 12 by the 44 you have, and that's the percentage of the payroll amount that could be forgiven. That's correct.
Great.
So I've got some
Thank you.
questions that people have typed in. So this person has employees that say they're afraid of the virus, and they can get unemployment. Then you have the problem too of people coming back to work for you and saying they won't come in because of the virus, or then you have the problem we were talking about yesterday, which is the you have to give them sick leave that will again be forgiven at some point, but you have to deal with that portion of it too. So we can hire new employees under the PPP if our employees can't or won't come back. Is that correct? I don't know.
Carol, this is Tom again. Check with your accountant, but I'm under the impression you can.
Okay. So my husband and I get a salary check under our corporation, being that we are also owners. Can we apply our salaries to the PPP?
Can I answer that as well?
100,000.
Yeah, that's correct. For those of us that are sub S and have taken maybe a modest salary and we distribute whatever we want or whatever we can to ourselves outside of that salary, you might be looking at a different payment model to yourself, and that would be up to $100,000 for owners or operators. That would be $8,333 a month, and that would qualify under the PPP and in your forgiveness model.
Great to know.
But in the calculation for what you qualify for the loan amount, you can use the W-2 amount from last year up to 100,000. So if you gave yourself a modest salary last year, it could impact your amount you qualify for, and you increase your pay, that part would be forgiven. You're right, but it does impact the 2.5 time formula that's based off of your W-2 or 1099 from last year.
That's correct.
All right, I think we've answered everybody's questions. If you have a question, if you want to just unmute yourself, you're welcome to. Tom, I really want to thank you. I know you know a ton about this, and I really appreciate all the research that you've done on both sides, the restaurant side and the banking side.
Let me caveat all my my comments with please consult your banker and accountant, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to have to sit down with you and work this out. And if the federal government comes back in and asks questions, you know, those are the folks you're going to have to sit down with and justify whatever action you take.
Thank you for that caveat, and that goes with the Restaurant Association too. We are not bankers, lawyers, or accountants, so you know we can put these people in front of you. And honestly, I've heard very different opinions from each one that sat down with us, even this week, and just recognize that this is all happening very fast, and very few people have all of the answers. And so do your best. And I think it's just like the accountant said day before yesterday, pigs get eaten, hogs get slaughtered, something like that. No.
That's correct.
Yeah. So just don't try to overdo it. Try to stay within the lines, and everybody, you know, work with your banker to know what those lines are if you're going for the PPP loan. And I just found out that the Restaurant Association qualifies for the EIDL loan. I did not find out that we got an EIDL loan, but I'm just glad to know that there's going to be money out there for us if we need it. And I don't know right now if we need it. So the last thing I think we want to do is be coming back to our members and asking them for memberships right now. So we're trying hard not to do that. And I'm trying very hard to keep my staff, because I don't think I could do this without them. So just so you know, the association is here for you, and we're answering lots of phone calls every day. And you're always welcome to email me at executive@nmrestaurants.org. And I will try to get to your emails, and we'll be doing the daily call until we don't need it anymore. I think we're still in a process. I think this is helpful for those of you who are on, to hear these answers, and we'll just keep doing it until we don't need it. So thank you all for being on. If there's no one else that has a question, and you're welcome to ask one more question if you have it. Go ahead. Sorry. Unmute yourself.
I think, have I unmuted?
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, I just want to let everyone know that what is being called interim final rule on the PPP program has just been posted on the SBA website.
Okay.
And it's got a number of things in there. It's much easier to read than the act itself. It's in a PDF format on the website.
Okay, and we'll have that on our Monday newsletter as well. I keep promising these things, and Lawrence asked me, what did you promise them? So I'm writing it down. Lawrence, SBA website. Okay. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Have a good weekend, and do something to take care of yourself. This has been a very stressful time for all of us, and you guys need to stay healthy. So take care of yourselves.
Thanks, Carol.
Bye.
We'll see you. Thanks.
Have a great weekend.